All right, all right, all right, all right. Can you hear me all right? Come on, give me a thumbs up. Let me know you hear me. You got me? Can y'all hear me all right? Good?
Yes, sir.
All right. Excellent, excellent. Well, hey, listen, we're really excited and so grateful this morning. And the reason, because we got Jim Coker's on the line with us. Man, that's absolutely phenomenal. I mean, I am telling you, for those of you who don't know, Jim and Mary Coker are $1 million income earners in our company. And I basically called them and I said, man, just share your story. I mean, these guys got a phenomenal story. They got so much wisdom that they can share with the group. You know, they're still in the game. They're still out there. As a matter of fact, they just promoted a $100,000 income earner. All right, so we're excited about it. We got Michael and Michael Gray and his wife. They just made over 100,000, you know, which is phenomenal. But these guys are awesome, man. These guys, as a matter of fact, one of the reasons I wear a hat is because of Jim. I mean, I saw him one time. He wears the same hat, man, and I saw him and I said, man, I'm going to give me one of those hats. And the minute I did that, man, I came to him and he said, man, I got that same hat. Ain't that something? Like-minded people, man. So, I mean, it is such an honor just to have him on the line with us today and just sharing and, you know, and sharing his story, man, and sharing the wisdom that he gets. This guy's a phenomenal trainer. I mean, his wife is one of the big ones in when we call, you know, the partnership group. So, you know, without any further ado, I just want to bring up the great Jim Coker to share with us everything you got, Jim. So if you're on the line, go ahead and you just let it rip, man, and just be Jim, man. Be Jim. Come on, let's go. All right. Without any further ado, here's Jim Coker. Come on, give it up for Jim. Jim, you're missing the hat. Put that hat on, man.
Yeah. I was thinking about that when you had the hat.
There you go.
Yeah, typically. But we are so honored to be with you. When Ed and we have our own Super Saturday, and we chose, you know, we wanted to make sure we jump out of that to be with you. Ed and Yvonne have always been, you know, two of our great heroes, and watching them and their family and how they've grown together and what they've done. It's just so exciting. And I love the login for this, Ruby Run. I love the sound of that, Ruby Run. If anybody should be a $1 million earner, it's this great team, because that's a team recognition. So we want to encourage you to go for that. A little bit of our story. We started 36 years ago, 1985. And I was switching careers. I had been a pastor. I went to college and seminary, you know, got the MDiv, got all that stuff. I worked at a large church, then started church. We're pretty blessed. And then we decided to switch careers. I wasn't sure what to do. When you have the academics, you don't know till you go back to school. So I was going to go back to school. I wasn't very excited about that, but I didn't know what else to do. And my college, Mary was taking some refresher classes at the college we went to, and my college wrestling coach was doing this part-time. Now, Jim Hazelwinkle was a great guy. He's a two-time Olympic wrestler. Him and his brother both wrestled in the 68, 72 Olympics. They're twins. His brother won a silver in Greco-Roman. Jim, was wrestled up a weight, and so he did not medal. But just great people. But if you know anything about small colleges and coaches, they don't make that much money. So he had a bunch of kids, and he was always selling something. Anybody know anybody like that, right? And I wasn't a salesperson. I didn't want to be a salesperson. And so he started inviting me to this meetings. He tracked me down where I was watching the kids, playing Mr. Mom, a new experience for me. And he kept inviting me to these meetings. And I gave him every polite no that you could give someone. You guys, and in the Midwest, this was in Minnesota, in the Midwest, people take the polite no's. You know, I'm too busy, the kids, they don't come back. But what happened was he kept coming back. It's that Olympic wrestler attitude, right? He kept coming back. And finally I said, I'll go. Mary, my wife, said, you're not going to do this. I said, don't worry, honey. There's no way. I'll just go, be polite, listen, tell Jim we're not interested. Then he'll leave us alone and still be our friend. So that's how I got to my first meeting. I go to the meeting, I listen. It's really not a very good presentation. The guy has his back to us, drawn on the board, but I get a little intrigued because I saw the concepts, if they're true, could benefit me. And I knew I wasn't stupid. And I'd always heard, if you want to go in business, find a need and fill it. So I said, hey, there could be a big need here. So the next day I did something that, Nicholas, you won't probably even imagine. And all you young people, you young millennials and Generation Z, I went to a place called the library. I know that you don't think that's just a whole new concept to you. There was a day when you went to a physical building to research things, and it was called libraries. And books, and there were fiche and cards, and you look in magazines, you research. I know it's weird. I know. It's hard to understand. Some of you don't even have any conception of that. But I went to this place called the library and took my kids, researched the company, the concepts, and not the compensation there, but researched the company, the concepts, saw they were legitimate. So I started full-time before I got licensed. I was switching careers anyway. I went full-time. Here was my attitude when I went full-time. If I could just make a living and not have a boss and not have to go back to school, anything above that be gravy, right? We had a house we rented on New Jersey. We had just bought a house in Minnesota because that's where I was going to go to school. And so what we did was they told me, we didn't really know anybody in Minnesota. We went to school there, but didn't really know many people, just there for school. And so they said, qualify for RVP and then move. Well, we didn't, because they didn't have networking then, and Zoom, obviously, and all those things. So I said, okay, I didn't know you weren't supposed to do that in a cold market. So Mary took a teaching job in New Jersey, and they offered her the job and the housing and different things. So she took that job. We sold the house in Minnesota, and I started in Minnesota. I was always 2 or 3 hours away from my upline. We did our own meetings from day one, and we went for it. In 7 months, we qualified for regional vice president, starting a cold market. You say, well, man, how did you do that? Well, first of all, we did some things that we wrong. We started in the phone book with the A's. Nobody told us we weren't supposed to do that. That was before the do not call list. And that didn't work very well, I have to tell you. I went to see my one friend who was my roommate in college, who lived there in Minnesota. And he became my client, still my client, wonderful person. And he introduced me to his friend, who was a state legislator, who I knew kind of, but didn't know that well. He did not become a client. He did not join us, but he introduced me to lots of people. We recruited the son of a large church. We recruited another woman's in the military. We just recruited all these people. I met one other person at a gas station, recruited him. He had a bunch of brothers and sisters. And by driving that deep, and some other people, I don't remember that well, we qualified for RVP in 7 months. By the way, to show you how much better the company is today, my 5th month in the business, I was the 5th or 6th highest paid regional leader in the entire company. Pretty cool, right? How much do you think that was in the entire company? $6,600. That's how much it was. We have reps making that today. True or false? It is the company is so much. So I wish I would have started when you started. No, you really don't, right? This is the perfect time if you're new and starting. And so, got my licenses right away, passed my life test in September, started the end of August, passed my life test in September, passed my securities test in November. It made sense to me to get a securities license. I was a test taker, and it just made sense to be able to have multiple income streams and be able to help the client do the whole thing. So we've been securities licensed since 1985. Been through lots of ups and down cycles. So anyway, so we get started. Then I'm going to move east to be with my family. And by the way, we recruited and built that team without, I was living in a boarding house in North Minneapolis because I had sold the house. The mice would come in and play in my room. I put poison out. They seemed to like it. The bathroom was down the hall. There was no showers or tub. So obviously I had to join the YMCA to take a shower. I'd meet people at the restaurant. They say, where's your office? Oh, my office is in Georgia. It was. I had an office in Georgia. I'm expanding in the area. And that's how listen, where you are and your circumstances you're in doesn't dictate your success. You can choose, to be successful. They weren't joining where I was. They didn't know where I was. I obviously was Del Mar, living in a boarding house. I mean, I'm not, right? They were joining the vision. So qualified for RVP, left everybody as a promotion exchange, moved east. Back then, state to state moves were awful. So it took me till December. I qualified in March, got promoted in April, took me till December to get a resident license in New Jersey. That's how long that state to state move took. Got my resident license, started over again, right? Building. Got to senior vice president, had 17 directs. Back then we had these PRVPs, RVP things, and some of them went out pretty weak, but had 17 directs. And then our founder left, my $1 million earner upline left, which, by the way, if he would have been overriding me in one leg, presuming I became a $1 million earner with his leadership, he'd been overriding Bill Whittle in another leg, David Landrum in another leg, and John Sanders in another leg, who's a $500,000 earner with Sam Shepard. And he left. Because he got to think, I mean, people, I don't know why he left. My guess would be that, people start to thinking that it's them, not this great system. I had friends that followed him. A lot of friends. One of my uplines followed him. We told him, don't do it. He will always make money. There's no guarantee you'll make money. I want to encourage you. One of the things you have to be very aware of is don't ever follow the wrong person. Right? You be very careful who you listen to and all those things. So anyway, so my uplines left. My team left. I flinched. I listened to these people. I didn't leave, but I listened to them. Big mistake. Don't listen to the negative people. Today, I have a lot of close friends I won't talk to, not because I don't like them, not because they're not my friends, because they're not in a good place, and I can't afford to allow that in my brain. And so what happened was, so then I got depressed. Right? My worst income year was my 6th year in the business. I made $22,000. I got depressed. I didn't want to leave the house. I didn't want to get out of bed. That's when I got fat, and it was a terrible time. In October of 91, I had Mary and I were we're thinking about I was thinking about getting a job, and Mary said no. Right? We have so much time invested. I'm like, I've been here. I'm a failure. I never felt like a failure before. I almost quit. She said, no, and so we committed to stay, start praying. Our upline left. We got attached. We chose to go with Bill Whittle. My friend said, I want to go with Bill Whittle. I said, I don't know Bill, but I hear he's kind of a tough butt. They said, well, he worked for me. He doesn't override me. I said, well, okay, I can't find anybody who works for me does override me. So I was the only person in Northeast, my $1 million earner that left. The company let me go any place. We chose to go with Bill Whittle. Our uplines didn't want to go. So the company said, well, you can go wherever you want. They can go wherever they want. Well, they went with us because we did all the premium, right? We voted the stock, and they just overrode us. And so what happened was, so we ended up working with Bill Whittle. We committed to work with him. He was in Louisiana. I committed to go his events. So I started schlepping to Louisiana for big events. I'll talk about that in a bit. And started working with him. That year, that was in that would be in 1993, 92. It was. I worked really hard, man. I was working hard. Thought I'd get it going, then I didn't. Thought I'd get it going, then I didn't. And at the end of that year, I got the right people on my bus. We averaged about 8 by 8 that year, with me doing most of it. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? You're out looking for people. And the next year we averaged over 30. The next year over 60. The next year we averaged close to 100 by 100, I think 90s. And we're the #1 base shop in the nation in premium recruits. That was in 95. And then from there, our whole life has changed. With our combined codes, last month, after netting out the people we're paying, we always net out the people that we're paying. We made $200 and some odd thousand. My rolling 12 is 2.7 million, almost 2.8 million, with after netting out the people I'm paying. That's what I actually get to keep. And so we've been extremely blessed. We have 92 $100,000 earners. We actually had 4 get the ring last month. I override Andrea Burks is a second to me, right? So and then we have some others that show up in different places. We had 4 $100,000 earners last month, one $200,000 earner, Michelle Shager, one $300,000 earner, and So that's kind of pretty exciting, wouldn't you agree? And won $400,000 in a Rick and Amy Doyle. Actually, no, three. The three was the month before. I get mixed up. Sorry. So, but that was just last month. We've been unbelievable. But think about that. I almost quit. If in January of '93, you were choosing teams for Primerica, right? You're choosing RVP teams. You're going to pick up teams like the Sandlot Games. If you're choosing teams for Primerica, I would have been the last person chosen. They had a company convention that month. I went, I barely got there, registered, right? I had 5 people with me. That was my entire hierarchy. We stayed in one room, not because we were that close. You can figure out why. And that was that, I went to, nobody knew me. I went to Widow's Recognition. He didn't know me. I got nothing, obviously. That was January of '93. Right. And you think about that, what can happen in your career. And it's amazing what has happened. So what I want to share with you today is I get asked all the time, Jim, how did you go from that to where you are? Right? What were the change? What happened? How did that happen? By the way, it took me 9 years to get to Ring. 9 years later, we were making $1 million. In January of '93, we were broke, right? Really not making, with 30-some thousand in debt. Broke would look nice. Broke just means you don't have any money. I was looking up at broke. 7 years later, we'd saved $1 million. The only 2 things I spent my money on was I had always had a nice office, because you got to feed the goose, right? I always had a nice office, and I put my children through college, right? And they both graduated debt free, and that was all we spent money on. Otherwise, we saved, didn't change our lifestyle, because I was, by this time I was 40-ish. I didn't want to ever be broke again. Anybody identify? Right? I was so tired of being broke, right? We got married at 20. We had our children at 22. When we got married, I was a senior in college. We had our children when I was in seminary. I was working, at a hog slaughter plant at nights, going to school during the day, support the family. Mary stayed home with the kids. And then we started the church and struggled there, then got that established, and came here, struggled again, start over again, struggle again. I was tired of starting over, like 5 times in my life. And so that's what, so I want to share with you how that happened and give a message of hope to all the slow starters like me. Today, in today's world, even back then when someone would get the ring or something good would happen, I would be beating myself up, man, you're such a loser, right? Well, in today's world, you got people going to $1 million in 4 years. That's unbelievable, right? I mean, it took me 9 years to make 100, but getting there sometime before never is good. Wouldn't you agree, right? And it's better than most people will. So I want to talk about how you can have that breakthrough, how we had that breakthrough, exactly what we did to build it big. And the first thing is I had to have a paradigm shift. A paradigm is the building block of your mind. It's the map of your mind. Your office is probably some in Tampa. There's probably, or Sarasota, wherever it is, there is an Ocean Drive there, I would guess. If I want to get to an address on Ocean Drive in here, but I'm looking at a map of Tampa, I'm not going to get there. Another way to look at it is, I do this all the time. I have prescription sunglasses. I'll be wearing my sunglasses. I'll go into an office or inside, and I forget I have them on because they're prescription. I mean, man, this place is kind of dark. Well, yeah, because it's the glasses. It's the way I'm seeing things, right? It's that's the paradigm, the map of our mind, the attitudes, the way we see things, the way I saw the business. The first paradigm shift I had to make is I had to put the past aside. I had to learn from the past, but focus on the future. Learn from the past, right? I started over again in Primerica 3 times. First time to RVP, second time to SVP. By the way, I went to SVP when everybody quit. Second time to SVP, then we're all alone, and now this time. But every time I did it, I learned so I didn't keep making the same mistakes. Hey, do you know anybody that's gotten married 3 or 4, 5, 10, 15, 20 times, and they've married the same person every time, just with a different name? Right? You know why? Because they haven't solved the issue inside themselves as to why they're choosing that person, why they're choosing that type, or anybody's been in a bad relationship over and over and over again. They haven't solved what's inside them about why they're choosing to get started in these bad relationships. See, we have to fix that. We have to learn from our past, but focus on the future. You know what I realized? That because it hasn't happened in the past, it doesn't mean it won't happen in the future. Because it hasn't happened, right? Because I was, my worst income year was my 6th year. By the way, my 7th year when I was working hard, it only went to 28,000, right? It didn't, I didn't have that big jump, but you know what? But then after that, things started to happen. See, I don't care where you are, how long you've been here. I want to encourage you to recognize that just because it hasn't happened in the past doesn't mean it won't happen in the future. All it means is you have not planted the seeds of success. Right now, you're harvesting based on the seeds you planted. Your life is a consequence of your choices. But if you change your choices, you can change your life. So you can't change your where you're at overnight, but you can change your direction and your destination by making different choices. I had to understand that success is not final, but failure isn't fatal. Now, and success isn't final, right? I went to RVP pretty fast. I thought, man, here I go, 17 directs. I said you only need 6 to 8, man, or 8 to 10, I'm on my way. It didn't happen that way, right? In business, it's always about current success in business, right? But also failure is not fatal. If I would write a book of my life, the title would be, or a book, any book actually, my title would be A Successful Failure. I have failed over and over and over again, sometimes catastrophic. Most things I did in Primerica didn't work out very well. But what happened was, if you keep getting up and you keep trying, then you get success. And we just kept getting up and we kept trying, even though we failed over and over, and many times catastrophic failures, financial failures, all kinds of failures. But we just kept getting up. And so if success is a great business, we've been blessed with a great business. Our business all overrides almost just under 2.8 million, 2.78 or something like that. If it's a marriage, Mary and I have been married for 46 years, a tribute to her. We've got wonderful children. My son was a teacher and coach. And now then he decided he wanted to do Primerica. He was about 2/3 way through his master's. I said, you could have saved me a lot of money if you figured out a little bit sooner. But he got his ring as a future. He, was a number 5 future, I think, when he went out. And now he's in that 2020 base shop, a couple RVP, twilight zone. You're making 150, 160,000, Jason. It's just right. And it's like that, trying to get it going. Some months you hit your 2020, some months you don't, right? You're in that, right? You got a couple RVPs, but they're not really going for it the way you like. And he's in that, he's in that zone, where you got to develop get the right people on your bus. But he's making a living, and someday he can, by God's grace, he can take over the family business, hopefully a long time from now. I want to encourage you to keep a proper perspective. If it's savings, by the way, we've saved, a lot of money. We're financially free. If it's lifestyle success, we live in a 4,000 plus oceanfront condo with another 800 square feet of balconies. We own a guest house here right beside us for guests at another development, 2,600 square feet, and other places. We've been very, very blessed. If it's material things, yeah, that's fine. If it's people that we've been able to make a difference in, I think we've been very blessed there. So even though I failed over and over again, most of my life, I felt like a failure. Most of my life, I felt like, well, before Primerica, not as much, during Primerica, most of it, right? But at the end of the day, if you just keep getting up and you keep learning, then we have to understand that success is not final, failure is not fatal. We need to keep a proper time perspective on a 6-figure income. Think about this a minute, right? If you're going to be a doctor, how many years is it? 12 years? And the average GP makes about what, 170 or so? If you want to be an attorney, it's 7 years. And for every attorney making over 100, there's one making under 50. And, you know, and a lot of attorneys have these huge student loans, because once you start going for your master's, they don't limit what you borrow. And yet they're, you know, unless they came from a really big time school and they were top class, their life didn't start the way they thought it would financially. See, we need to keep we come here and we beat ourselves up. My first career, my bachelor's, you know, was the regular bachelor's. My master's was 96 semester. I was past my bachelor's. Then I did postgraduate work. Then I worked at a large church. Then it was some years in the church we started. The reality is that was a lot of preparation, right, to make a living. And we love what we did, by the way. We didn't have any issue with what we got paid. But the point of that is that before I even started my career, and we come here, and if we're not an RVP of, like, you know, congratulations to Delise, right, going to RVP and whatever it was, crazy, 4 months, 5 months, man, that's unbelievable. But you know what? That's not going to be most of us. Then many of us are going to get to RVP, and it's going to take us a while to get the ring, and we're you know, we're going to get stuck someplace. I mean, keep a proper time perspective. Most people never get to a six-figure income. No more mid or high six figures. And understand that and stop beating yourself up. Listen, here's what, if you've been here a while, this is a message to all the folks who've been here a while. If you've been here a while, I want you to say to yourself right now, I'm proud of being here this long because I never quit. Say that with me. I am proud of being here this long because I never quit. How many people quit and you stayed the course? How many people quit before they even went to class? Then they went to class and they got a good look. Nobody ever fails a test, by the way, unless you don't take it again. All you did is get a good look. And they got a good look and then they quit. And they got several good looks and then they quit. Someone told them no, they quit. I had someone in my base that saw something on the internet and they quit. I mean, the internet is the bathroom wall of our generation. Really? Look yourself up. You're going to find somebody saying bad things about you, baddate.com, bad neighbor. I mean, come on. The reality is that, you know, people quit and you didn't. You stayed. You got your license. You're still here. You still have a shot at changing your life. All the people that quit, they have surrendered to a mediocre, all right, life, which I almost did, by the way. I looked at my friends. They had normal jobs. They had normal lifestyles. They seemed to live in a nice house. I was living in an 800 square foot falling down house. They drove nice cars. My cars would barely start. I drove back then Rose Canarley. You guys know Rose Canarley? It rolls down one hill, can hardly get up the other. Mary drove Shanitas, right? She needed brakes. She needed there's one gremlin we had, someone gave us, she needed a floor. We had to put cardboard because you could lose a kid through the floor. I mean, it was so rusted out. I mean, we you know, and I looked at my friends that had this normal life. I said, man, maybe I made a mistake. Maybe I should go to normal. Thank God I didn't go to normal. Because they're laid off, struggling, making a living, worried about Social Security. And we don't have those worries. We're free. We've built something different. They can't pass their career on to their children. We can pass our business onto our children and our grandchildren. Keep a proper time perspective. Be proud of being here. Don't beat yourself up because of what hasn't happened in the past. And by the way, your story, your journey is going to help a lot of people. We all have our own journey. Never be embarrassed. Michael Gray has been with me, wow, for 20 some years. I have Johnny Abraham, who's been with me. I think it was 22 years. When he started with me, he was a young teacher, happens to be Haitian background. And he was a young teacher, not married. I was at his wedding when he got married, right? Today, his children are in college. Took him like 22 years to get the ring, another 2 years to get the second diamond, and then in months to get his third diamond. Hey, right? In the meantime, he had a great living. You know, he was stuck in that 80 to 90,000 land forever. Don't beat yourself up about that. Be proud. You know how many people Johnny has helped by telling that story? Be proud of your story. But here's the thing. Some of us need to write a different ending to the story. Right now, the ending would be kind of depressing. But the good news is if we're still here, we can write a different ending. If we still have our health, we can write different. I have folks on my team who it's a little late. They can't write a different ending. Their health has let them down. Things have happened. They can't write a different ending. If you have your health and you can write a different ending, man, go write a different ending because you will help so many people. Whatever you've went through, a business failure, financial failure, personal failure, understand you paradigm, you got to put the past aside. Your failures do not define you. And it's not over till you surrender. It's not over till you quit. Second paradigm shift I had to make is I had to commit to double-digit recruiting. Now, I had double-digit recruited, but I wasn't committed to double-digit recruiting. And so what happened to me was one of my friends got the ring, right? This was in October of 92, right? So one of my friends get the ring. I've been working hard that year. I'm making 28,000. And I knew I was better than them. How many have some friends that are ahead of you? You know you're better than them. I mean, you know at your core, you are so much better than them. I mean, it's not arrogance. You just know. And there he was crushing me. He's staying at Bob Safford's house. He's speaking places. And I'm like, what's up with that? So I got his numbers. And what I found out that he started double digiting 18 months before. I'm like, oh, he's not better. He's just bigger. So I committed double-digit recruiting in October of 92, and all the way through earlier this year, I double-digit recruited every month since then. This year, I lost my record. I'm so embarrassed, but it is what it is. Start a new run streak. But I had that long streak. I want to encourage you. You want to change your life. Start a streak of double-digit recruiting, not 8, not 9. Not 7, a minimum of 10 every single month. And I'm not talking about double-digit IBAs, by the way. It's not an end in itself. The goal is to develop a licensed player, right? See, it's the only way to grow. There's a difference between a surge month and a growth month. A surge month, you get more production from the same people, but you didn't really grow. A growth month is you have your old people and new people playing. That's growth. New leaders playing. And so the only way to grow is to get new leaders, to get new players. And we want to recruit to build. We committed to the third paradigm shift. I committed to a philosophy of business that I'm going to promote motivated people. I'm not going to promote people to motivate them. The second time I built it, I could get premium from people, but if they needed something, I would do all the big closes. I would do they really want to recruit something, they bring it to me. I was doing everything. And here's what happens. I created dependent people because I did everything for them. But here's what you understand. Dependent people don't stay with you when the chips are down. I was always talking them off the ledge about quitting. And that's, you don't really build. All 17 of them quit. And I could get production. We went to SVP, but I had created them to be dependent. I remember one time back then, we had this position where they would get paid 80, you would get paid 90. There were no bonuses. I did a $2,000 life sale for someone. And I said, well, maybe we should split this. And they got fierce with me. Oh, you're greedy. You split. Wait a minute. I'm making 10%. You're making 80%. I did all the work, but I'm greedy. But the challenge was that was my fault because I created that expectation. The third time I built it, this time, I don't build dependent people. I don't do things for people. They do it on their own. And personally, if they're a district and above, we teach to split sales. Not that I need to, but you know what I found? If people lose money, they tend to get independent faster. They tend to learn faster if it's their money, right? It's not so much that I need the money, as I want them to be what? Independent. So we're going to promote motivated people, not going to promote people to motivate them. Promotions are going to be earned. We're not going to promote weakness. When you promote weakness, you just get less money for more work. We committed to the team concept, right? We call ourselves the wolf pack. That came from Rudyard Kipling's book, where it says the strength of the pack is the wolf and the strength of the wolf is the pack. There's a tension there. We committed to a team concept. We have to have strong independent leaders. The strength of the pack is the wolf, but those leaders have to play as part of a team the strength of the wolf is the pack. And that's a tension, always. But if you can build that tension, we have strong leaders that play as part of a team, you can do something magnificent. Now, let me share with you a minute. If you're a strong leader and you're always resisting the team, let me help you understand something. You will always have a hard time building leaders. And in fact, all you will do is gather followers. Because if you don't know how it feels to submit as a leader, you're not going to treat your people the right way. You're not going to understand how they feel to submit as a leader. And so you'll always end up chasing your leaders off because you have not learned, right? You have not learned to follow. I am Bill Whittle's best person. When I go, occasionally I go speak for him down south. He has all these young jocks, very talented people, by the way, right? You know, that you got, sometimes you feel a little sorry for them because they're young, skinny, full heads of hair, and, you know, they're not bald and good looking and seasoned. But anyway, so I'll go speak to them and I'll tell them, listen, I am Bill's best person. And I'm going to stay his best person until I choose not to. And they get all irritated, you know, but I pride myself on being Bill's best person. Now I have great friends. Collis is going to be $1 million earner. I have great friends in that hierarchy. We love them, but we pride ourselves on being, now I'm a leader. I have, we have 192 RVPs now. 92, 93 with a ring. I have $3 million earners in my downline, plus myself, a bunch of $500,000 earners. We override you probably know Chris Royce. He's been with me his entire career. By the way, of my rings, my 93 rings, all but 3 got the ring when I owned the code. So we didn't buy these. We built these to whatever degree they need to be built. And with really leaders, they don't really need much attention. You just basically treat them nice and stay out of their way. But we believe in the team concept. If you need to play as part of a team and sell out, because if you want to build a team, your people need you to sell out to the team leadership, and you won't always agree. Let me repeat that. You won't always agree. How many of you have been married for a while, right? If you're now, how many of you, don't raise your hand if you're not married, but if you're not married and you're dating, you're in some kind of relationship and you're like, oh, or maybe it's in the bloom of first, whatever, you're like, oh, they're just perfect for me. Oh, and then you get married. And I love Mary. We've been 46 years, we've been married, but I have to tell you, sometimes she doesn't like me. Now I always like her, but sometimes she doesn't like me. Sometimes we disagree. We both have our own fields, our own things that we handle. And sometimes, if it's her thing, she's got to handle it. I may disagree, but it's her thing, my thing. And because, now we've been married 46 years and we don't how in the world do you think, and we said till death do us part, how do you think you're not going to have some disagreements with your upline at some point? But you have to learn to be a team player because you're going to want to ask your team to give you the same respect. Same with the company, Glenn or the company leadership, right? They ask my opinion. I'll be very vocal, give them my opinion. Once they make a call, I'm all in. Because I want to give them the same respect I ask our people to give me. Does that make sense? I'm all in. I voice my opinion. I'm all in after that. And then, because somebody's got to make the call. And really, we're all very opinionated people. That's why we're leaders. But boy, if you can be a leader and learn to play as part of a team, you can build something magnificent. And you can build, I override independent hierarchies. I don't work with Andrea Burks' team. We have him over to eat. We take him out occasionally. We have him over to the house, but we don't work with them. Andrea's going to be a Circle of Champions person. She did over 500-some thousand of premium last month. 2/3. I just stay out of her way and get paid. See, my RVPs, how I treat my RVPs. My RVPs are like my adult children. My children are in their mid-40s now. I have my oldest grandchild is 18, soon to be 19 in January. I don't really give my adult children advice unless they ask me, because they really don't want to hear it. Right? And that's my RVPs. I'm the most successful $1 million earner, but if I don't, you got to call me to ask me. The point of it is that team concept, playing in excellence, building people, not sales, building units, building teams of people. And it's the building a team and building a business, not just a contract. See, it's function versus form. In real estate, there's something called functional obsolescence, where you buy a house, it doesn't have any closets. So the kitchen, it doesn't really work anymore. It's become obsolete in function. Well, the title, if you just have a title and you're not building anything, you don't know how to use your contract, you're not making money. What's the title? The title and some money will buy you a cup of coffee, but the title alone doesn't do much. I have RLs making more money than RVPs. I think Tanya Poe's the one that said it's your work ethic that pays you. I would add to that your skills. And so we committed to promoting motivated people to the reality of promotions, to helping people that'll make a six-figure income their first year. So that philosophy, I had to change those things. I had to believe that I could do it. That was a change. I get asked many times, Jim, how did you go to work and recruit people when, like in 92, when we started over again, I was living in an 800 square foot home. My cars didn't run hardly. I'd pray I wouldn't break down on the way to New York City, right? And I'm recruiting people that make more money, live a better life. You say, how did you do that? Well, and I was coming off of depression. I didn't want to talk to anybody. All I wanted to do is lay around and hide, because I'd never felt like been this much of a failure before in my life. And how did you get up and talk to people? And the way was really, you use emotion to fight emotion. So I'd visualize my daughter. My daughter went to an Ivy League school, University of Pennsylvania, and she got accepted early admission. And I visualized telling her, I'd always told her that you need to, you get there and I'll pay for it. I never, by the way, I wanted her to go, all my daughter wanted to do is get married and have kids, but I didn't want her to depend on any man. So she was going to get a professional career. So she got accepted to UPenn, and ended up getting her nursing degree there and all those things. But anyway, but the point of that is that I would visualize the look in her eyes when she couldn't go to school of her choice because I couldn't afford it. We had friends that were accepted to Ivy League schools. And because it cost them $5,000 more a year, they didn't go. They went to somewhere state. I visualized my son leaving the house and seeing his dad as a failure. I visualized Mary looking at me and seeing me as a failure, and that wasn't acceptable. So even though I didn't feel like talking to anybody, even though I didn't feel like doing the work, I got up and did it anyway, because the visualization of those emotions was a lot worse than the emotion of talking to someone when you felt like a failure. So you use emotion to fight emotion. And that Jim Rohn says desire brings discipline. And so we will get up every day. It's a lot easier. Now you need to really catch this. It's a lot easier to act yourself into feelings than to feel yourself into actions. I would suggest it's almost impossible to feel yourself into actions, but we can act ourselves into feelings. So we got up and did it anyway. Jim Sullivan joined us. Jim had his MS or MBA from Carnegie Mellon, their business school, very successful, in life, working for Amex, all these places, bank analyst. He joined us in that time. Today he's a $400,000 earner, part of the AALC console, and on the list goes, that joined us when we were broke. But they didn't join where we were. They joined the direction, and I plugged them into my upline because I wasn't going to sell the dream at that point. I would go recruit them, train him, plug him into the upline, recruit him, train him, plug him in the upline, slap him all Louisiana, let him see Whittle, let him see Safford, and go from there. Second thing I had to do after the paradigm shift, thinking first, I had to prospect. I had to get new players. If you want to change your business, we have to embrace this. The people we have are not going to take us to the promised land. We'd already be drinking the milk, eating the milk and honey. Right? I had to prospect to find new players. So how did I do that? Right? I just started, one is, your warm or your acquaintance market. You say, Jim, how'd you start over again 3 times and all 3 times get it going pretty quickly? It was an acquaintance market. right? People that you don't know that well, but they know your family name. So through my children's sports, right? Through the children, the parents, the people Mary taught, through the people at church. Like if you go to a large church, all you have to do is change where you sit because everybody sits the same place. Make new friends. You'll make a whole new group of friends, right? If you go to a gym, you just have to change when you go, right? Because everybody tend to go the same time you go to a gym. So we just started really working the acquaintance market. At some point, you have to become more success conscious than image conscious. See, before we were so concerned about what people thought and what they said and what our friends said. So you have to become more success conscious than image conscious. And so we started talking to everybody. We stopped caring about all the negative people. I remember one time my son wrestled. He wrestled 1 year. He didn't really like wrestling. He's pretty good at it. He went to big tournament, took third, but he just didn't like it. He wanted to quit. I'm like, no, we don't quit something we start. You're going to finish. You never have to do it again if you don't want to, but we're going to finish this. And so Mary called up everybody on the wrestling team. And one woman called us up. I can't believe you did that. Reaming us out, blah, blah, blah. You know what? Right? We know we're doing something good. We know we're doing something right. One time at the church, my pastor came to me and said, Jim, I don't want you to talk to anybody else in the church. I said, well, you're my client. Number one, he's my client, still my client, by the way. I ended up recruiting his son. But anyway, and I said, but you're my client. You don't have a right to say that to me. I'm not talking to him at the service. You should be supporting me. You know I do something good. You know people need what we have. You own it yourself. While someone complains, so someone complained. People complain about everything. I said, listen, I'm not going to stop. Because I am doing what's right. And you don't have a right to tell me what to do outside of the services. You don't have that right. You know, we would get a lot of pressure because we were very involved in the church. And, you know, and I do believe God, family, business. That's one of the things that attracted me to this business. I believe that. But a lot of times people mix up God with a clergy person or a system or church, right? So Mary would go, I would be out doing business. Back then, we actually had to, you know, go out and do business. And there wasn't, by the way, any, things that said you have arrived, electronic, right? It was flashlights, maps. Some of you don't even know what a map is and a grid. Right? We would use maps and grids. Anybody remember those? If you remember those days, right? And flashlights to find the numbers. I know Nicholas is looking at me like, what's that? That's strange, right? But anyway, what would happen is, so Mary would be at church Wednesday night and they would give her, oh, Jim's not here. They'll look like, oh, your poor kids are going to turn out derelict. He's so backslidden. You guys are just, and all that kind of, guys know the look, right? You know the look. Well, here's the thing. They didn't say that to the nurses that work second shift. They didn't say that to the business owners that travel for business. They didn't say that to the commuters that didn't get back in time, but they would say it to me. And so, see, keeping your spiritual life first is between you and your family and God, not all these other influences that'll really, it's so easy for people to put you on a guilt trip. Mary and I, at one point, Mary's been licensed to 85. At one point, we were both in the field. She would go one direction, I would go one direction. We get a babysitter for kids. People, would just, oh, that's so awful. Well, you know what? Sometimes we missed events. Right? Sometimes she would go, I would go, we'd switch in the middle, right? But at the end of the day, it turned out great for our kids. Our kids graduated from school debt-free. Our kids are our best friends. My son is active. He's running our Super Saturday right now. You got to put things, you got to stop caring if they're not going to pay your bills, they're not your mentors. Stop allowing them to wreck your life. Become more success conscious than image. There are always going to be naysayers. There's always going to be opposition. There are always going to be people that think they know what's best for your life. And you want to listen, weigh it, but don't allow them to stop you. So acquaintance market, critical. You get big in your acquaintance market. You want to get big fast, your acquaintance market. I went to RVP Fest because I went to my friend who I hadn't seen in a long time from college, acquaintance market, who led me to his acquaintance, who led me to some of their acquaintances. Second key is learn to master building teams of people. Man, Bill Whittle taught us you got to see 3 and bring 3 the first week. We've got to see 6 people right away because they might quit after the first week. My genius was I was not a huge personal recruiter. I was a 2 to 4. That's what I did. I'm not the guy that did 10 personal recruits, but I was very consistent, my 2 to 4, but I was great at driving deep and taking ownership of 10 by getting deep before they quit. Building teams of people, great way to prospect. Chris Royce and some of our leaders have used seminars. You can use those. You can meet people. I have a young woman that's still in the biz today. It's been, I don't know, almost 20 some years, maybe longer. I met her I was flying back from one of Will's events. She was at the airport, right? Our flight was delayed. She had a Coast Guard hat on, so you got to get into conversation, right? So I smile, make eye contact, right? Practice that. Some of you I know it's hard. Smile, make eye contact, right? Then I got to get into conversation. Well, she had a Coast Guard hat on. Wow, you in the Coast Guard? No, my father works for the Coast Guard in New York. Oh, wait, really? What type of job? I'm a teacher. Wow, you're a teacher. Where? In New York? Wow. And what are you doing here? She was singing, going around and with this choral group. And then I said, well, do you do anything in the summers besides this? At times you'd be interested. Anyway, I recruited her, fixed her insurance. She's been with us now. This is in the 90s sometime. She's fully licensed, been with us forever. It fixed her personal finances. See, it's just wherever you go, you just be friends, be nice to people. Be nice to people. It's amazing if you're just nice. I don't really look at it as forming and steaming. I just look at it as making new friends, trying to be nice people, making someone's day. It's amazing what a little thing that can make someone's day, right? And making people feel good about themselves. You can call your old clients. You can just give out business cards if you're not going to see anybody. I mean, you just have to, listen, you have to choose 3 prospecting methods that you'll use. See, I know I'm not going to cold call. That's not going to be me. If I chose that method, I'm not going to do that. So you have to choose 3 that you'll do and then have a schedule to do them all the time. And keep doing them until you're successful. You got to prospect. We got to get new people. I can change no one. I can only change myself. As I change, others change in response to me. And by the way, let me give you my definition of sales. And I got to go. I'm almost past time. I mean, you're done. Let me give you my definition of sales. Sales is helping people make decision that's in their best interest through the artful use of questions, stories, and analogies. What we do is we help people make decisions that are in their best interest through the artful use of questions, stories, and analogies. Someone thinks you're pushy, you're an amateur. We only help people do what's in their best interest. It's in their best interest to join us. It's in their best interest to get the term insurance. It's in their best interest to invest. And we do that by mastering the questions, stories, and analogies. Now, here's the key thing to that. If you're good at premium, then you can be good at recruiting. If you're not, you just haven't mastered the questions, stories, and analogies yet. If you're good at securities, you're not good at premium, you can become good. You just have to master the questions, stories, and analogies. All you have to do, if you need help getting people licensed, you just have to master the questions, stories, and analogies. See, Primerica is all skill, not talent. Talent is something you're born with. Skill, like I played a little football, right? And I could hit someone hard if they ran into me, right? But I wasn't catching anybody, all right? I was so slow, and I could barely jump over a piece of paper, right? I mean, there was no future for me in that thing. But the point of that is that you're born. You can't teach quick twitch muscles, right? You can't teach height. You can't teach speed. You can help someone fast get a little faster, but that's all talents. But see, Primerica is skill, right? I'm an introvert. I'm a bookworm. I'm very happy being alone. But yet we became very good here because we learned the skills. And all you have to do is learn the skills. Sometimes I find people that have the gift of gab, they never master the skills. They're always personality selling. They're always bullying people. And you know what? It's very hard to build the business because most people don't have the gift of gab. If you master skills, you can teach people. Thirdly, then we want to create a positive environment. I teach our people the only 2 things your RVP owes you: a great example and a great environment. I want to encourage you to have high expectations, to give people the gift of belief. I coined this phrase some years ago, the gift of belief, where you have to see, people have to feed on your belief till they believe in themselves. How do you give the gift of belief? Number one, you tell them they're going to be great and why, that they can do it and why. You tell them, and then you always tell the truth when you do that. Anytime you don't tell the truth, your words lose power. So there has to be a reason, and it has to be truthful. It just can't be, otherwise it's manipulative, and manipulative long range loses its power. So you tell them that, and you do it publicly and privately based on fact. That means you have to know them and give them the gift of belief. Fourthly, you have to have a plan, a transferable system, and then fifthly, you have partner involvement, where, Mary and I she's been licensed since '85. We've been on this journey together. She's securities licensed. She's my truth teller. I think everybody needs truth tellers in your life. Are you going to allow to be your truth teller? We all need truth tellers, and it's not pleasant, but we need truth tellers. She's one of my truth tellers. Because we all have blind spots. Your leadership probably knows what you need to fix, but they may not be telling you, because all they know is you're not going to listen, just get mad at them. And why would you get someone mad when they're not going to listen anyway? The power source, we move people to events. I moved people to widows events in Louisiana, and we kept moving them there. When we stopped going, we moved there from 92 to 97. When we quit going, started running our own events, we were bringing 300 people from New York, New Jersey to Louisiana about every 2 months or so. 300 people. The reason we quit was simply it was costing our people $1,000 to fly, and we could run our own events, and so we started running our own events. But we move people to the power source. We move people to conventions. I'm going to encourage you that we have a convention coming up, and I'm going to close with this. January of '93, we went to company convention. There was 5 of us. And we kept moving people to the events, right? We had another convention in December of '97. January '93 was Tampa, right where you guys are. And in December of '97, it was in St. Louis. When we came back to that convention in St. Louis, by the way, we had another one in December of '93. I brought over 80 people. In 10 months, we went from 5 to 80. In '97, we went back to the company convention, and now nobody knew us in January of '93. By '97, we were closing speaker, Hall of Fame, MVP of the company. From nowhere's broke, busted, and disgusted after 7 years to all that happening, you can turn your business around. Just think if I had quit. Just think if I had surrendered to those fears of failure, the feelings of failure. Just think if I had surrendered to the depression. Just think if I had surrendered to all the naysayers and the people laughing and mocking, because when you deal with acquaintances, people laugh and mock. Just think if I had given up. It was so easy. Just think if Mary had just said, yeah, go get a job. Just think what we would have missed. All the friendships, the relationships, the team, this opportunity to just think what we would have missed. All the leaders that have grown up in our business, all the great leaders that have grown up in our business, just think what we would have missed. Just think what our children, grandchildren would have missed if we would have quit. Don't quit. Learn and grow. You can do it. Primerica is not for the few. Primerica is for the folks that are willing to get up and fight and go through failure. We've enjoyed being with you. We love you guys. Thank you so much. We love your leadership. You have some of the finest leaders in all the company. We love hanging with them. They always fire me up. And the Lord bless you.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate you.
All right, come on, give it up for Jim. Give it up for the man. Give it up for Jim. Jim, thank you so much, man. I really sincerely appreciate you, man. what you brought was so many nuggets, man. And I highly recommend everyone to get this recording, man, because I took notes after notes after notes. And I know that in between them, I probably missed 3 or 4 of them. So make sure that you guys get this recording. Make sure that you sit down and write these nuggets down, because they were just absolutely phenomenal. I mean, this is wisdom right here speaking to us. So, and this is someone who's done it, and he's done it well, man. And he's got a beautiful family, man. Him and Mary Glenn, man, you guys are killing it, man. And I just ask that God continues blessing your business, man. And if there's someone that how we want to build our business is similar to what you got going on right now. And thank you so much, Tim. I really appreciate that. Thank you all for being, yeah. And thank you all for being on the call. Everyone who's on this call, man, thank you so much, man. And let me kind of let you know where we're sitting at right now. Right now, we're on the 14th of the month. So far, our hierarchy, we've recruited 65 people. 65 people so far. We did 85,000 in premium, which is a good thing. And the reason it's a good thing is because we got more premium than we have recruited. What does that tell me is that we're training our folks right. Okay. When you have a lot of recruits and little production, all you're doing is recruiting, and these guys are not getting trained. Okay. So when you flip it around the way we have it right now, we got something special going on. We just got to continue moving it forward. Okay. I also want to thank and recognize everyone who's at the office, everyone who's on this call, but specifically those that came from afar, from Orlando, from out of Tampa, and you're right there at the office with us, So I thank you guys, and I hope you enjoy that meal, man. You guys have a great time there. Let me give you some little marching orders right now. On the 14th of the month, this is what you want to do, man. You got to end up this month doing something, at least a 1-by-1. You got to do 1-by-1 minimum 1-by-1. Once you hit that 1-by-1, hey, go qualify yourself as a leader. And qualified as a leader is doing 3-by-3, okay? 3-by-3, that's 3 recruits. And if you train them right, boom, there's your 3,000 in production, okay? Once you got that thing going, you want to take it to double digits, 10-by-10. If you're hitting 10-by-10, man, you're en route to becoming an RVP, okay? That's the key. That's the key. If you do 10-by-10, trust me, you got what it takes to become an RVP, okay? You don't do it by yourself, you do it as a team. And once you're an RVP, what you want to do is you want to be hitting 20-by-20, because if you hit 20-by-20, you're maxing out on all the bonuses, okay? So, and that's what we want to make sure that we get it going here. So thank you guys for being on the call. Just make sure you give it everything you got, man. Don't let the naysayers try to take it away from you, just like what Jim was saying. Just be strong, man. And what we got is phenomenal. He said something there that our job is nothing more than to help families make the right decision when it comes to their finances, okay? And becoming financially independent. So thank you guys. Thank you guys so much for being on the call. God bless you all. And let's take this to the next level, because you all know who we are. Go ahead and unmute yourself and let us know who you are. Come on, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. On this call. Come on. Mighty only one here. Come on, let's go. Let's go. All right, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. On the count of 3. We are. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. God bless you all, man. Enjoy yourself, man. Let's go make it happen. All right. We'll see you guys. Have a good one.
All right. Thank you, Ed. Thank you, team.